teams I expected to win did win in the NFL wildcard round. 2 teams I expected to win did not win in the wildcard round. And 1 team I expected to win did win, but it came with a big price that I did not expect them to win that way in the NFL wildcard round. And don't forget, a partridge and a pear tree. Christmas is over, Joel. Quit singing that. We're going to recap the NFL wildcard round here on Pigskin Frenzy. We're going to preview and predict a loaded, and I mean loaded slate here on Pigskin Frenzy of NFL Divisional Round playoffs. We also have the latest on the NFL coaching cycle for the 2025 season and the Pigskin Frenzy NFL injury report, who's in and who is out for this weekend. We are ready to go. We are rocking and rolling here on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. Guys, welcome to Pigskin Frenzy on this beautiful Thursday afternoon and chilly Thursday afternoon. That's why I'm wearing this sweater. I'm Joel Norris, and whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, listening on Podbean, or listening on Apple, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some NFL coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple, all you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X, Instagram, and Facebook, just type in Pigskin Frenzy. Follow like the pages there. You're going to get episode updates. You're going to get news and highlights from across college and NFL football. You're going to get trivia questions on Instagram story, go and answer today's NFL question, as well as all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy at Pigskin_Frenzy, X, and Instagram. Don't forget the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. There you'll find all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. You'll find a home and about me page. Learn more about me as your podcast host. You will find a contact info down below, name, info, and email and question. I will answer it on air and off air if need be. You also got the platforms page. All the platforms pages I just mentioned, you can go and click on that platforms page, and you can go and click on which one's your favorite listening style of the show. There is also affiliations page, store page. Those are coming soon here on the podcast and on Pigskin Frenzy. Just check out www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com for more up to date on everything coming soon. The NFL weekend and NFL day today, we are getting ready to rock and roll. Big wild card weekend. It was an epic weekend of covering games. I loved them all. I was 4-2 in my NFL wild card picks. 2 games that I did not expect to happen with my winners turned into losers, yes. And then one winner I expected, like I said on the start of the intro, was honestly, I thought that was going to win the game, and they did, but not to that degree. I didn't think it was going to be that degree, but we're going to talk about that and what this means for a certain team up north in Minnesota. And we're going to talk about what just transpired this past weekend. We're going to talk about the notions of everything going on around the media, because a lot of the media is saying some stuff that is just absolutely bananas. Yes, it is to sell papers and clicks. That is what the media does to get impressions, to engage. I do that because I want engagement. But at the same time, a lot of people are just saying some stuff just to get clicks. Let's be truthful about what we're going to talk about. And we're going to be truthful on this episode. We're also going to preview a good slate of NFL Divisional Round football playoff games. And we're going to see who's going to the NFC Championship and the AFC Championship games next Sunday for Championship Frenzy and Championship Sunday. So, coaching cycles, heating up. And we're going to talk about that as well. We're also going to see who's in and who's out for this weekend's Pigskin Frenzy NFL injury report coming up now. Let's talk about this, by the way, before we get started. 4,400 and counting listeners on this show, Pigskin Frenzy. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for listening in and tuning in every Tuesday and Thursday for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, follow on X, like each page and post on X, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and follow and subscribe on all platforms, Podbean, Spotify, Apple. Also, like each episode, drop comments down below on YouTube, engage with me on Instagram and X, and follow on those social pages at Pigskin_Frenzy for more. And just to get the best content, that's what I'm trying to do. Just put out the best podcast, the best truthful and honest and engaging podcast with everybody. And I want to engage and I want to hear from you. I reply to a lot of people. I comment to a lot of people because I want to be truthful and I want to be an engager with everybody about the sport that we all love. No crud, no mess, no crap, just football. That's it. Have fun, talk about football, and that is what we are going to do. I was honestly thinking about taking my glasses off for this episode, but I'm not going to do it. It's probably because I'm just a little, maybe I forgot to clean my glasses a little bit. My frames are just, all messed up. You probably couldn't tell because my glasses look clear right now. But nonetheless, there is still a little bit of cleaning that I need to do here in a little bit. But nonetheless, let's get started with the NFL wildcard round, and let's stop me talking about jabbering on about glasses. So, NFL wildcard round, let's discuss the first opening game in the AFC, and we're going to go by conference. AFC matchups, then we'll go with the NFC. Kicking it off with the Chargers and the Texans in Houston, NRG Stadium, rocking and rolling. D'Amico Ryans getting everything going for this team. I picked the Chargers to win. I thought that this was going to be their time. Jim Harbaugh getting everything rocking and rolling. Like literally getting everything rocking and rolling for this Chargers team. Justin Herbert, I thought he was going to come out on all cylinders, fire it up, and this was going to be a close game, and the Chargers were going to take it because of how good Justin Herbert is and their defense was. And guess who was wrong? Me, kicking it off with a wrong pick. Final score of this game was Texans 32, Chargers 12. You can almost hear a pin drop right now. Chargers 12, Texans 32, a huge blowout in the state of Texas and in the city of Houston this past Saturday. And you're thinking, whoa, what went wrong there? Well, let me tell you what went wrong here as I adjust my mic and mic stand. We can talk about what went wrong, and I will talk about what went wrong. The Houston Texans were just dominant on defense. Is everybody feeling me on that? That's a good look for the mic stand. I was trying to get that adjusted. Is everybody feeling me on that? Everybody needs to feel me on this. The Texans were just flat out dominant and better. Justin Herbert had the worst game of his career. Point blank had the worst game of his career. And here in a little bit, I'm going to defend Justin. So you're probably going to think, you just told me he had the worst game of his career. Now you're going to defend him? Hold on. I'm going to defend him, but I will tell you he had the worst game of his career. Let's talk about the Texans really quick and how good they were on defense. Because they weren't that impressive on offense at first. So we're going to talk about their defensive play, and then we will talk about the Chargers in a little bit, and I will defend Justin. Okay, so Texans in this ball game, starting off on offense, were very stagnant up front and at first in the first half. The defense was keeping them in this ball game. It was one-dimensional. Really, one-dimensional offense. It wasn't much running. It was all CJ throwing the ball, and they couldn't get a lot going. 22 for 33, 282 yards, a touchdown, and one interception for C.J. Stroud. Joe Mixon ended up finishing great with 25 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown. That was all pretty much in the second half. C.J. Stroud had 42 yards, 6 carries on the ground. Dameon Pierce, 15 yards, 2 carries. We had Nico Collins with 122 yards, 7 receptions, and a touchdown. Xavier Hutchinson with a big 34-yard reception. John Mechie III, 28 yards, 4 receptions. Cade Stovers, 28 yards, 4 receptions. And we also had Dalton Schultz, 23 yards, 2 receptions. Defensively, Murray played lights out. Eric Murray played 7 total tackles, 1 interception. Derek Stingley had 2 interceptions and 4 total tackles. 4 total tackles and 2 picks. Justin Herbert threw for 4 interceptions, by the way. We're going to discuss that here in a little bit. Kamari Lassiter has been an absolute animal for this team as a rookie this year. Kamari Lassiter out of Georgia, interception and 2 total tackles in this ball game. Danielle Hunter, 3 total tackles. Will Anderson Jr. had half of a sack and had 3 total tackles in this game as well. Mario Edwards also had a half a sack and 2 total tackles. They were physical on defense, and this is the team on defense that just kept them in it. This defense was all over the field on the Chargers. Total yards for the Texans, 429 compared to the Chargers, 261. Texans 429. Chargers 261. Passing 261 for the Texans compared to the Chargers 211. 168 rushing for the Texans compared to the Chargers 50 rushing yards total, and 6.1 yards per play compared to the Chargers 4.8. 5 for 14 on third down. They did okay on third down conversions, not the total, but not the all like absolute best, but did enough to move and keep their drives going, right? 100% on fourth down conversions, 2 for 2 on fourth downs. These are some positive circle moments, and they had good running in the second half. The second half, the offense got some more balance, and the defense were playing physical, and the defense was probably the main winner of this ball game. So those are some positive circle moments for this Houston Texans team. Let's get to the negatives, because the negatives kind of worry me a little bit. And against the Chiefs this Saturday, because they're playing Kansas City Saturday, it kind of worries me. They have a rematch in Arrowhead, and some of these things they have to clean up by Saturday afternoon. So 8 penalties for 86 yards. You can't do that against Kansas City, especially against Arrowhead. Especially in Arrowhead and against the Kansas City Chiefs. You cannot do that. You have to play better with penalties, be more disciplined up front. 3 turnovers. 3 turnovers in this game, and you got to protect C.J. Stroud. Also, with 3 sacks allowed, you had 3 turnovers. You got to do better at those 2 things, and you also have to have a balanced offense for the whole 60 minutes. Not just in one half, whole 60 minutes. You have to balance it out. Run, throw, balance it out on your drives. You did not do that against the Chargers at first, and then late in the first half, and then all the way through the second half, they came alive again. C.J. Stroud has to be a little bit more balanced, and you got to help him out in the run game. Joe Mixon in the second half went off, so obviously, you're going to have to feed Joe Mixon for a full 60 minutes. You can't just rely on Joe Mixon. C.J. Stroud has to throw the ball, yes, but it can't just be one-dimensional. And that's what I'm worried about with the Houston Texans come Saturday afternoon. Those are some of the negative circle moments. The Texans' defense is pretty solid, and they have been playing pretty solid, and they have kept an up-tempo pace and physicality pace against teams in the later half of the season, and including this playoff game against the Chargers. Can they bring that to the table in Arrowhead Saturday afternoon? Well, the Chiefs' offensive line has some question marks. They sacked Justin Herbert 3 times. Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, Mario Edwards, those 3 are the machines of this defensive line, and they have been getting 2 quarterbacks as of late. Can they get to Patrick Mahomes Saturday? That's going to be a really, really important question for this Texans defensive line come Saturday afternoon. They're going to have to do what they did on defense Saturday to beat the Chiefs, I think. I think the defense, if you want to be a Texans fan and you want to have hope in pulling off an upset against the Chiefs and eliminating them and going to the AFC Championship, I think the hope is you rely on physical defense by this Texans team. I think that's what you rely on. Offense, yes, you got to have points to score, obviously, but I would rely on heavy defense in this ball game, keeping it low scoring, and Joe Mixon and C.J. Stroud having a balanced enough attack to get the job done. I think that's what you need to do in this ball game if you want to be if you're a Texans fan come Saturday afternoon as we get ready for the divisional playoff round this weekend. So that's pretty much it. That's all I got. So Texans need to play some solid defense. They have to have a balanced attack on offense, and they have to hope that Mahomes can get pressure, get sacks, and they can get sacks on him, and they can just keep it close and be gritty about it as well. I think that's what the Texans really need come Saturday afternoon. Final score of this game was 32-12. It was a blowout in the second half. All Texans, pick sixes, 4 turnovers by this defense. This defense was solid, and they are ready to rock and roll and go into Arrowhead this Saturday afternoon as they play the Chiefs this Saturday. 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central on ABC and ESPN and all ESPN platforms for the AFC Divisional Round playoff matchup Saturday afternoon. So we're covering that. Let's talk about the Chargers. Let's not go off into And let's be truthful. Don't lie, but be truthful. Justin Herbert had not only one of the worst, he had probably the worst game of his entire career in the NFL. Out of the 5 years he's been in the NFL, this was the worst game he's played. Hands down. We're going to talk about Justin Herbert. Let's talk about 1 touchdown, 242 yards, 14 for 32, 4 interceptions. Whoa. Bad, right? It was rough. J.K. Dobbins, 26 yards. Gus Edwards, 22 yards, 7 carries. There was only 1 touchdown in this ball game. It was mainly field goals. 197 yards, 9 receptions, and 1 touchdown for Ladd McConkey. Will Dissly, 16 yards, 2 receptions. Fisk had 15-yard reception. DJ Chark had a 10-yard reception. Johnson was a non-factor. And Davis had a 4-yard reception. That was about it. Defensively, they looked good. Khalil Mack had 6 total tackles and 2 sacks. Don Henley had 10 total tackles. Dye had 8 total tackles. Derwin James had 7 total tackles. Gilman had 9 total tackles. And then Joey Bosa had a sack and 2 total tackles. Let's talk about what happened in this ball game. 3 for 11 on third down. They couldn't get a lot of drives going, especially in the second half. They couldn't keep drives going. I'm getting to the negatives. 4 sacks allowed, 4 turnovers, 4 picks thrown by Justin Herbert, and 50 rushing yards. Those are the negative circle moments. I think they started off fast by moving the ball down the field, and I think that was the positive circle moment for this team. I think that they showed some toughness up front at first. That's a positive circle moment for this Chargers team. But the rest of it was negative circle moments. 4 interceptions, 3 for 11 on third down. They couldn't keep drives going. They turned the ball over, like I said, and 4 sacks allowed. They couldn't protect Justin Herbert. This defense was all over Herbert and this offensive line. Here, and this is my thing. Justin Herbert played bad, yes. Here is why I'm defending Justin Herbert. And I'm going to defend him because, and this is, a lot of people can agree with me and disagree with me on this, and I could post this on X or post this on Instagram if need be. Here's the problem with everybody on Justin Herbert. I think that Herbert is not used to the situation that he is in. He is in a playoff game, second playoffs, right? 0-2, he was doing great in the first playoff game, right? The first playoff game, great. Then the Jaguars came back and beat him. He didn't play good in that game either. He didn't play the best in that game. Even in the first half when they were winning, he didn't play good in that game. Brandon Staley, coaching-wise, was horrible. They haven't been to the playoffs a whole lot either since that playoff game because of Brandon Staley. At first, they weren't in the playoffs before the Jacksonville Jaguars game when Herbert was quarterbacking for them. Because of coaching. Coaching has been abysmal for this team. Now they finally have a good coach. And first year with Jim Harbaugh there, they made it to the playoffs. Okay? They finished really high in the divisional round. Or I'm sorry, excuse me, in the division in the AFC West. They played good up until the playoffs, and then it just collapsed in the playoff. I don't think Herbert's used to that spot. I don't think the players are used to being in that spot. That's number one. Number two is Justin Herbert needs more talent around him. Ladd McConkey is his best receiver, and he's a rookie. Quentin Johnson is okay. I think you can keep him, but I think they need a better tight end. I think there's nothing wrong with Dissly. I just think he's a rotating secondary tight end. I think they need a strong, solid tight end that could block and catch for him. I think they need some more talent at receiver, and they need another rotating back behind J.K. Dobbins. I think Gus Edwards is fine, but his performance has dipped with the Chargers. I think they need a rotating back with J.K. Dobbins and some talent around him. I think they need some more talent up front. Joe Alt was a good start during the offseason and in the draft. I think they need some more talent up there. Defensively, they look good. They need to add more depth to the linebacker spot. I think the Chargers on defense look fine. You can just add, like I said, add some more depth. Build some more talent around Justin Herbert. Here is my deal. Everyone who's going to say, oh, Justin Herbert's a media creation. He's a hyped media creation. Is he a media creation? Sure, maybe. Of course. You can say that. Here's the deal, though. Majority of the time, he backs it up. He backs it up. Has he backed it up when it counted? No. But I believe he will. I don't think he's used to the spot he was in. This is his second ever playoff game in the span of his 5-year career. He's had horrible coaching, and now he's finally got a coach that believes in him and that believes in this organization. And Jim Harbaugh is a solid football coach. I'm going to defend Justin Herbert because I believe Justin Herbert, A, will win a playoff game eventually. Could be next year. Who knows? Will win a playoff game under Jim Harbaugh. That's number one. 2, I would take Justin Herbert still over a lot of quarterbacks in this league. A lot of quarterbacks in this league. Are we going to sit there and say, oh, we're taking him over Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar? No, we're not saying that. We're not taking him over those guys. But if you lay the argument out of Justin Herbert over, say, I don't know, Tua, or, I don't know, Anthony Richardson, or right now you look at, I don't know, Will Levis, anybody, Bryce Young, anybody, Kirk Cousins, Penix, Jaden Daniels is an amazing rookie quarterback, but right now I'm taking Herbert. You're thinking you're insane. I think the experience behind Herbert right now would probably say otherwise. I think Jaden Daniels is getting to a point where where you can start talking about taking Jaden Daniels over Justin Herbert, and it's getting to the point now, especially if he beats the Lions, my opinion may change. But right now, I would take Justin Herbert over a lot of quarterbacks. I would. Give it time. It's his second playoff game. He's not used to being in that spot because he's had a gap since being in his last playoff game. Give it time. And build talent around Justin Herbert, more talent on offense around Justin Herbert, a better supporting cast, and then we will talk about if Justin Herbert is a overhyped, overrated media creation, which I don't think he is. I think Justin Herbert is a solid quarterback. Chargers finish their season. Let's see what they do during the offseason with the free agency and draft, and let's see how they build towards next year. The Texans have the Chiefs on Saturday afternoon. The prime game, Steelers-Ravens on Prime. And we're going to talk about this matchup because it is a very interesting playoff matchup on Prime. The first one on Prime, by the way. Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit on the call for this one. And if you had a subscription, good, you tuned in. Well, did you miss much? Maybe not. But it was a solid game, at least for Baltimore, none to say the less. I was right about this game. Final score, Ravens 28, Steelers 14. I picked the Ravens to win. They got the win, 28-14. The Steelers had no heart, and we're going to talk about how they did not have heart. The Ravens in this game is proved to me, number one, they're solid. That's R, they're solid. Number two, they proved to me that they have a legit shot at probably winning the whole AFC and going to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. Interesting stat, every 12 years, the Ravens have won the Super Bowl. Their quarterback was 28 years old. Dilford at first, and then Joe Flacco. This man, Lamar Jackson, is 28 years old. So, coincidence? I don't know. Who knows? We don't know yet. But Lamar Jackson played well. 16 for 21, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had 81 yards on the ground, 15 carries. Derrick Henry, his teammate, is a freaking madman. 186 yards, 26 carries, 7.2 yards per rush, 2 touchdowns, and he is 31 years old. Man's an animal. He is an absolute beast. We have Sims Jr., 15-yard carry. We had Justice Hill, 12 yards, 6 carries. We had Isaiah Likely, 53 yards, 3 receptions. We had Mark Andrews, 27 yards, 2 receptions. Nelson Aguilar, 25-yard reception. Rashad Bateman, a touchdown, 24 yards, 2 receptions. And Wallace had 21 yards. Justice Hill had 13 yards, 4 receptions, and a touchdown. Then we had guys like Darius Washington with 7 total tackles. Roquan Smith with 5 total tackles. Metabuke had 4 total tackles. Harrison had 4 total tackles. Humphrey, 4 total tackles. And guys who were being very physical, sacking Russell Wilson and getting to the quarterback if he's being physical. 464 total yards for this Ravens team compared to their 280 total yards at Pittsburgh. Passing, a little bit different story. Pittsburgh, 251 yards passing, 165 yards passing for Baltimore. Rushing, obviously domination. 299 yards, just shy of 300 yards on the ground. 29 rushing yards for Pittsburgh, 6.4 yards per play for Baltimore compared to Pittsburgh, 6.2 yards per play. Third down efficient. I'm going over the positive circle moments. This is insane. Positives for Baltimore. 10 for 15 on third down. They only allowed 1 sack. They almost ran for 300 yards on the ground. They were 1 yard shy away from that. And they moved fast. They also had 39 minutes, 33 seconds in time of possession compared to the Steelers' 20 minutes and 27 seconds. This Ravens team's explosive. They are playing like they want to win it all. They're playing like they are hungry again, and they're getting into the groove at the right time. There are 3 teams in this football league and in this playoff field that is getting into the grooves right now at the right time. I think that the Ravens, the Commanders, and the Rams are the 3 teams right now getting into the groove at the right time. I think that the Ravens are hungry. They're running like wildfire, and they are just going off, right? They are just running, and they are hungry and starting off fast in their games, and they are explosive on offense. They are the number 1 rushing offense in the league. They are dominating everybody up front, and they're making it look easy out there. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are playing like madmen. It is a debate between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in the MVP race right now, and we are getting the game that we have wanted this coming up Saturday with the Bills and Ravens this weekend, and I am so excited about that game Sunday night. I am so excited because this game is going to be electric in Orchard Park, New York, in Buffalo. I cannot wait for that football game. Baltimore is coming in at the right time and playing fast pace and a strong rushing style of brand of football. This team looks like a team that could beat the Chiefs in Kansas City or Buffalo in Buffalo and could go to the Super Bowl and represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. This team, everyone's saying, is this the year that Ravens finally do it? They were number 1 last year. Now they're the number 3 seed this year. Are they capable of doing it? I think they're capable of doing it. I do. I think the running is proving it. I think their defense is proving to be a solid tandem late as well. They are doing good at stuffing the run. Number 1 rushing defense in the league as well. They are doing good at playing physical football. Their tackles and their open field tackling is probably bar none one of the best in the league. They are a solid opponent for anybody, and everybody should be not worried about playing them, but don't obviously look into them and respect them. Because if you go into this game and think, oh, it's going to be easy, or it's going to be, you're going to have to play the Ravens, and you're going to have to play them each and every game. They're always a threat to you, and you need to respect them. Going into this playoff field, for sure. They look good in this game. They dominated this game. It wasn't close on the field. The paper, I'll say on paper, the score may not show it. It was 14 points, and it's like, okay, that's sort of a blowout, but not really. If you watch the game, it wasn't close. The Ravens were dominating the Steelers. Hands down, dominating. It wasn't close this past Saturday night. Point blank, it wasn't close. Derrick Henry was running all over them. Lamar Jackson was running all over them. They were shy of literally 300 yards on the ground. 300 yards on the ground. That's insane. That is absolutely insane rushing. Everybody's got to be on top of that. Everybody's got to worry about that. And by golly, Buffalo better be planning and game planning on how to figure out a way to contain that rushing attack this coming up Sunday afternoon. They play the Bills at 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central kick in Orchard Park, New York, at home. In Buffalo. Ravens at Bills Sunday at CBS. On CBS, 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central kick, Sunday night. Let's see what the Ravens do. 28-14 was the final score. Let's talk about the Steelers really quick before we move on to the other games in this wild card matchup. Let's talk about the Steelers really quick. I really was disappointed and let down by the Steelers. I think that George Pickens played a little bit better than he did against the Bengals. Sure. I think that he caught some some passes. He scored a touchdown as well, 87 yards, 5 receptions, and a touchdown. Russell Wilson, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, 20 for 29. Najee Harris, 6 carries, 17 yards. I think Van Jefferson, 37 yards, a touchdown, 3 receptions. Mike Williams had a 37-yard reception. Calvin Austin, 25-yard reception. Defense did its best. Roberts had a 14 total tackle game, which was insane. Joey Porter Jr., 6 total tackles. Minka Fitzpatrick had got a brutal stiff arm awakening by Derrick Henry. He had 9 total tackles in this game as well, though. Elliott, 5 total tackles. Patrick Queen had 10 total tackles as well. Let me go on and tell you something about the Steelers defense. They played with physicality and toughness in the second half of this game. In the first half, they were nowhere near to be found. This Ravens team was all over them. The Ravens just kind of tire you out with their run game. I think the Steelers were trying to fight on defense and show some physicality, but at the end of the day, they just got tired by this Ravens team and this Ravens defense. I think that's what the problem was. They have not won a playoff game since, I believe it was 2016. It was when it was Ben Roethlisberger's final playoff and final season. Is when the last time they won a playoff game. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs in 2016. They played Alex Smith and the Chiefs, and they beat them. It was their last playoff win. They have not won a playoff game in 8 to 9 seasons. It has been a long drought for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, they have gone to the playoffs, and the Steelers organization is content with that. The fans may not be, but the Steelers organization is content with that right now, and that is why they are keeping Mike Tomlin, because they are content with the run that they are on by going to the playoffs every year and having winning seasons every year, because Mike Tomlin is consistent with winning seasons besides losing in the first round of the playoffs every year. So excuse me. Let's talk about the team stats. If you want to look at third down efficiency, not bad in the second half at least. 5 for 11. 5 for 11. 0 for 1 on fourth down efficiency. Not the best, but 5 for 11 on third down, which was not bad. It was good, a positive circle moment for this team. They kept a lot of their drives going when they needed to. Russell Wilson's play wasn't bad. They just didn't have a lot of fight. That was the negative circle moment for me. 7 penalties, 41 yards, negative circle moment. The Ravens got to Russell Wilson 4 times. They had 29 rushing yards. They could not balance it out at all. They did not run the ball well at all. 29 yards rushing total. Not good. And not only that, they showed no fight in heart and grit and determination in this game. There was no fight. That's what I was wondering about this Pittsburgh Steelers team. They act like they were, okay, we made it, and they just kind of quit. And that's what it acted like. That's what I had that feeling of with the Steelers. They kind of acted like they quit. And I feel like that's not good and a good mentality to see if you're a Steelers fan. Like, that is the team that's going to the playoffs every year and losing. And especially this year, it's looking like, okay, did we really belong in the playoffs because of the effort that we showed? Because I think, despite it being 28-14, the play on the field in the game itself wasn't as close as the score showed. And it really wasn't. The Steelers got blown out in this game, and it was because of them not having enough heart and determination and passion to play this game. Hands down. And if you think I'm wrong, sure, go ahead and think I'm wrong. But guess what? I think you know deep down that I'm right about this. I think you know that the Steelers didn't have any heart in this game. They end their season. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what's going to go down with everything going on with Mike Tomlin? Who's going to know everything's going down during the offseason? Here's what I do know. The Ravens are playing the Bills Sunday night at 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central on CBS. I cannot wait to cover that game. 28-14 was the final score. The Ravens move on. The Steelers finish their season at 10-8 and go on a 5-game losing streak. They were 10-3 in early December and go on a 5-game losing streak and finish their season at 10-8. Let's talk about the Bills and Broncos game and wrap up the AFC matchups before we go on to the NFC matchups. Another game that I got right, Bills-Broncos. I said the Bills were going to win this game. I thought the game was going to be a little bit closer than advertised. I was wrong about that, but I was right about the result. Final score, Bills 31, Broncos 7. Bills 31, Broncos 7. The Bills go on and run away against the Broncos in this ball game. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are headed for a collision course. And we kind of had a feeling that this game was going to be played in the playoffs, one way or the other. We kind of had a feeling that the Bills and the Ravens were going to cross each other again. The last time they played was week 4. We're going to discuss that matchup later on in the show. But we kind of had a feeling that they were on a collision course and that this MVP battle was going to happen. And it's happening, and I'm so excited. Both the two combatants for the MVP race are playing against each other in Buffalo Sunday night, and I just am so excited. I can't even tell you how much more excited I am to watch that ball game and to cover that ball game. 31-7, Josh Allen played quite well. 2 touchdowns, 272 yards, 20 for 26. He had 46 yards, 8 carries on the ground. James Cook was probably played an equal part in winning this ball game because he ran the ball in this Broncos defense quite well. 120 yards, 1 touchdown, 23 carries, 5.2 yards per rush. Ty Johnson is also a good rotating back for this team. 44 yards, 9 carries. Ray Davis, 3-yard rush. He had a big hit in the ball game, and we hope that he is okay. We are praying for him. He is in concussion protocol. We'll have an update on him on the Pigskin Frenzy NFL injury report for this weekend. Curtis Samuel, 68 yards, 3 receptions, 1 touchdown. He was a factor in this game along with Khalil Shakir. 61 yards, 6 receptions. Dalton Kincaid, 47 yards, 3 receptions. Dawson Knox, 38 yards, 2 receptions. And Ty Johnson, through the air, 1 touchdown, 26 yards, 2 receptions. Let me go and tell you something, though. This defense is finally starting to come into its own. The defense, a lot of people are having questions about. They showed that they can probably hang in there with a lot of the AFC's best in this game. They showed it here. Terrell Bernard, 6 total tackles. Matt Milano, a sack, 5 total tackles. Taron Johnson, he had 5 total tackles. Benford had 4 total tackles. Douglas had 3 total tackles. Gregory Rousseau had a sack and 2 total tackles. Johnson had 2 total tackles. Damar Hamlin had 4 total tackles in this game at safety. He was a madman also in this ball game. This defense played physical, and they were played very underrated. And like I said, probably can play amongst the elite's best. They're going to have a tough time this Sunday against Baltimore. I'm curious to see how they combat that rushing attack because they couldn't do it well in week 4. And I'm trying to think if they can do it. If they can do it in this game come Sunday afternoon. The Bills are not favored in this game. Okay. Total yards, 471 for Buffalo, 224 for Denver. 261 passing for Buffalo, 145 passing for Denver, 210 rushing for Buffalo, 79 rushing for Denver, 6.5 yards per play for the Bills compared to their 5.3 yards per play for the Broncos. 8 for 15 on third down efficiency. That's a positive circle moment for this team. 100% on fourth down, converting on all fourth downs. Positive circle moment for this offense and Joe Brady. And 2 sacks allowed only against the number 1 sack team in the NFL. Point blank, that's impressive. If you want to be real, that is impressive. You also have that as a positive circle moment. And then no turnovers. Not turning the ball over. Huge positive circle moment for this Bills team. I think the biggest positive circle moment for this Bills team this past Sunday was blowing out a tough Denver team. Because while the score may show that this is a one-sided game, I think the game at first didn't really show that this was a one-sided game. I think Denver came in hot and ready to go and played with some heart and determination in this game. They didn't quit. And this is what makes you excited about Denver is they did not quit. I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit with Denver. Something they got to clean up is this is the negative circle moment. 7 penalties for 45 yards. They got to clean that up. Other than that, I think if they clean that up and they play some good defense like they have been playing, this team is a freight train. They play physical, they play fast and hard, and I think that this team could take on anybody and run through anybody in this AFC playoff field. The Chiefs included, the Texans included, and the Ravens included. We'll see about the Ravens Sunday night. I think a thing that you got to watch out for, and this was a domination factor in this ball game, time of possession. 41 minutes for the Bills compared to the Broncos' 18 minutes. 41 minutes and 43 seconds compared to the Broncos' 18 minutes and 17 seconds. That's impressive. That's a lot of time. They ate up a lot of clock and had ball control. I think Bills are one of the best ball control teams in the National Football League. A lot of people do not give them credit for that, but despite how high-powered they are with Josh Allen and scoring a lot of touchdowns, which they finished their drives off with, they've had a lot of games where they controlled the clock, controlled the ball, and they kept with slow, methodical drives and beat people down that way. That's demoralizing. Ball control football is demoralizing, and the Bills can play it best. And they've been playing it best against a lot of teams on their schedule this season. 31-7 was the final score. The Bills have a huge game coming up against the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to talk about that one here later on. 31-7 was the final score. 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central on CBS Sunday night. Bills and Ravens at home for the Bills. I am so excited about that game. Let's talk about the Broncos. The Broncos played with heart and determination. You're thinking it was 31-7. What the heck are you talking about? I understand. The talent level is different. The Bills were most likely going to run away with this game, even though I was hoping that this game was going to be close. And I thought a little part of me was thinking it's going to be close because of how Denver played. But if you want to look at it on paper, talent-wise, the Broncos were going to get ran on in this one, and the Bills were going to run away in this one. The Broncos, however, played with heart. The plays that they made were unbelievable. A fake punt, Dixon to Mims on that fake punt, unbelievable. It showed that they were in it to win it, and they wanted it. Bo Nix, like third, fourth play on the first drive, launches the ball down the field to Troy Franklin out of Oregon, his Oregon teammate, for a touchdown. Explosive play right off the first drive and right off the bat from Bo Nix. Bo Nix is showing that he is probably one of the future quarterbacks and top-tier future quarterbacks in the National Football League by the way he's been playing in this season and by the way he played in this game. Bills showed heart and drive. 2 for 9 on third down. That was a negative circle moment. 79 rushing yards total. That's a negative circle moment. 1 for 3 on fourth down. Negative. 3 penalties for 27 yards. Not the best, but not bad either. Some negative circle moments there for the Broncos, but I'm going to tell you some positive circle moments. They did not quit, and they did not lay down. 31-7 was a blowout at the end, sure, but they didn't lay down at first, and they came into this game working hard and ready to play in this ball game. This was a positive sign for the future, and if you're thinking to yourself as a Denver fan, Joel, you need to shut up about this. You don't know what you're talking about. Hear me out. You got Bo Nix. You got your quarterback of the future. Because of the way he's played all year, he's shown that he is the starting quarterback for next season and beyond, and he is the future of this team. You got Marvin Mims. You got Cortland Sutton. Those two guys have had resurrections under Bo Nix, okay? They revived their career a little bit. So you keep those guys at receiver. You get Troy Franklin back involved. You get an extra receiver, maybe even an elite receiver involved. You get some help on the O-line. You build up that defense and that linebacker core just a little bit more, and especially on the defensive line, and add some depth on the defense just a tad bit more. And I would draft a tight end. I think a tight end would do you justice. And I think one of the top tight end prospects in the NFL draft, because there's a bunch, you got guys like Gunnar Helm and Mason Taylor. I think Mason Taylor would be a good option. But to me, Tyler Warren just fits what Sean Payton can run. I think if you get Tyler Warren up there from the draft, Denver is going to look solid. I think Denver, as they continue to build through free agency, through the draft, I think that Sean Payton in this Denver team is going to look special, and they're going to look even more tough for next year. I think they're going to try to make a run next year, and they could be a lot better than what they were this season. So watch out for Denver going into the next season. The future is bright in Denver, Colorado under Bo Nix and Sean Payton and what they are doing. A huge turnaround in a fantastic season for the Broncos. So watch out for Broncos and Broncos country. Not to try to pull a Russell Wilson, but let's ride, because it is becoming quite the spectacle watching Denver play football in the NFL. So 31-7 was the final score. Denver, they got ran on at the end, but they ended the season on kind of a high note to look forward to for the next few years at least. 31-7, Bills defeat the Broncos. That was the AFC matchups. Let's talk about the NFC matchups. And let's discuss the injury report, coaching cycle, and then we'll preview and predict all the matchups for the divisional round and playoffs this weekend. Let's kick it off for the NFC side of things with, obviously, the first game on the dock, the Eagles and Packers. Eagles and Packers, man. I got this game right. I said the Eagles were going to win this game. I thought Jalen Hurts was going to play, and he did play. He looked a little rusty. You're going to think the stats didn't show it. Some of the plays he made did show it. Final score, Eagles 22, Packers 10. Eagles defeat the Packers, and the Eagles move on to play the Rams coming up Sunday afternoon, 3:30. I think it's, as far as I know, it is, 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 Central on NBC. Rams at Eagles. Let's talk about this game here for this past weekend. 131 yards, 2 touchdowns, 13 for 21. He also had 36 yards on the ground, 6 carries with Jalen Hurts. Yes, he played good. He also had a concussion, so he looked a little bit wobbly and wobbly on some plays. Just a little bit rusty. He hadn't played since December 22nd. This was his first game in like 2 to 3 weeks. So, yeah, I think he was going to be a little bit rusty, but that's okay. It was a really bad concussion. We're going to, kind of get over it. But the passing game is what concerns me a little bit. Saquon Barkley, 119 yards, 25 carries. He's an absolute madman. Offensive player of the year for sure, Saquon Barkley. Devontae Smith, 55 yards, 4 receptions. Dallas Goedert had 47 yards, 4 receptions, and a touchdown. What a beast of a touchdown that was by Dallas Goedert. He made some incredible plays and physical with the touchdown play in that game. Jahan Dotson, 11-yard touchdown reception. A.J. Brown had 10 yards. That's it. So that's the concerning point for A.J. Brown as he reads on the sideline, the art of peace or something like that on the sideline. Did y'all hear that story? A.J. Brown brings a book on the sidelines during drives and clears his head by reading on the sidelines before he goes back on offense and try to score on somebody. It's unbelievable. I think it's hilarious. Go and look at that interview from the reporters. It was awesome. Reed Blankenship, 11 total tackles. Quavion Mitchell, an interception, 6 tackles. Nolan Smith, 7 tackles, 7 total tackles. Zach Bond, interception, 7 total tackles. Nakobe Dean, 6 total tackles. He is out for the remainder of the season as well after injuring his knee. Tough break for Nakobe Dean. Thoughts and prayers are with him, and hopefully he heals quite nicely as well. Cooper DeJean played well with 4 total tackles. Darius Slay, interception with 3 total tackles. In this game, they had 4 turnovers in this ball game, by the way. 4 turnovers, a fumble, and 3 picks in this ball game. 290 yards for the Eagles, 302 total yards for the Packers, 195 passing for the Packers compared to the Eagles, 121, 169 rushing for the Eagles compared to the Packers, 107 rushing yards, 5.1 yards per play compared to the Packers, 5 yards per play. I think those are some of the positive circle moments were the defense. They played physical and they kept them in it. And look, 2 sacks, 4 turnovers. 4 turnovers in this ball game. They played physical and got to Jordan Love in a lot of plays. This Vic Fangio and this defense played and coached a really good defensive game in this ball game. I think that was a positive circle moment in this game. If you want to look at another positive circle moment with Saquon Barkley in the ground attack, this running team is the second best in the National Football League. Saquon Barkley, of course, is playing like a madman. He can run the ball at an elite level, and he will continue to run the ball at an elite level. Here is the negative circle moments. 2 for 11 on third down. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to Rusty play by Jalen Hurts and the passing attack. 2 for 11. They could not convert on drives a whole lot, and that's not a good third down. That's not what you want. Third down drives, 2 for 11 on third downs, 121 yards in the passing game. They had 7 penalties for 64 yards. They punted 5 times. That's negative circle moments, and I think those are where the negatives come in. I think they need to minimize those penalties, obviously. They need to win on third down and pass the ball and have a balanced attack a little bit more. I think that it's going to be hard to do this because it is going to be 11 degrees in Philadelphia come Sunday. If you check the weather report in this game against the Rams, it is going to be tough. 11 degrees and 50% chance of snow. So a lot of the ground game is going to probably be the factor in this one, which you would obviously lean heavily towards the Eagles in this game. Let me tell you again why the pass is still important, though. You got to balance it out. Because if you do rely heavily on the run, they're going to figure out a way to slow it down. Somebody's going to figure out a way to slow it down. And then the passing attack with A.J. Brown as an elite receiver getting 10 yards a game with 1 reception isn't the best, right? And it's not. It's not. You need the receiver, your playmakers at Devontae Smith, and you need your playmakers with A.J. Brown to get involved in this offense and in the passing attack because it's going to make your offense more dynamic. Your offense is dynamic right now. It is dynamic in the ground game. Saquon Barkley is a madman. He's the best running back in the NFL this season, hands down. But your offense isn't dynamic because you don't have a perfect balance with your offense. So here is my honest thoughts. Here's my thoughts. I think this offense can be dynamic and will be dynamic if you balance out the pass. Let's see Sunday what you do in that realm. They play the Rams at 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 Central on Sunday afternoon on NBC at home. Very, very frigidly cold game and snowy conditions for both Sunday games for the divisional rounds. 22-10. Final score, Eagles move on to play the Rams in the divisional round. The Packers finished their season in this game. The Packers did not look ready at all in this ball game. They played the worst game all season. They played up until the point okay, we are a playoff team, and then in the playoffs, they folded. They just folded. It was an ugly game. 10 points total. They did get a touchdown out of Josh Jacobs, 81 yards, 18 carries, a touchdown. They got Tucker Kraft with rushing, 10 yards, 2 carries. Receiving, Jalen Reed, 46 yards, 4 receptions. Josh Jacobs, 40 yards, 3 receptions. Wicks had 39 yards, 2 receptions. Tucker Kraft had 26 yards, 5 receptions. Romeo Dobbs, 13 yards, 2 receptions. And that was pretty much about it on offense. Defensively, They got some sacks in there. Gary had a sack. Quay Walker, 8 total tackles. Valentine had 5 total tackles. Isaiah McDuffie had 6 total tackles and half a sack. Adrian Cooper had 7 total tackles. Xavier McKinney had 5 total tackles. So they look good on defense physically. The defense is what kept them in it, at least in the first half. And in the fourth quarter, they just kind of ran away with it late in the fourth. But throughout the game, the defense was all heart, very physical, and played tough. So that was a positive circle moment for this Packers team. Defensively looked solid. The turnovers were horrible. Jordan Love did not play like the $230 million quarterback they paid him during the offseason. Yes, he had the leverage in the market. That's just how the market is, Joel. You need to know more about the market. I do know about the market, and I do know that he had the leverage in that. Does it make it right that he got that much? I don't think he is ready, and I said this during the offseason. Jordan Love is a good quarterback, and one day I think he will be at the level to where he can earn that type of money. Now's just not that time. It's his second full season as the starting quarterback, and he's just wrapped up his second full season as a starting quarterback, and he did not play like the $230 million quarterback that they signed him and paid him to be. If you want to talk about Jordan Love in the future that way, sure, go ahead. I think he will be. I think he's a solid quarterback. I think that he's not at that level yet. That's my honest thoughts. 3 picks in this ball game. If you want to look at everything else, 7 for 13, not too terrible. But I think in a lot of areas they could have been done better on third down conversion. 8 penalties for 85 yards, not just a drive killer, a game killer. They killed themselves in that game due to the penalties. And they also had a fumble. So 4 turnovers total in this ball game. Not good for the Packers offense and Matt LaFleur. LaFleur was livid at that. 2 sacks, 2 punts. Not too terrible, but the turnovers and the penalties were costly for this team. They just weren't prepared. They weren't prepared, but here's the problem. In some ways, if they were, the game could have been a lot closer because the Eagles didn't look all that prepared either in a lot of areas. And I'm not going to say, okay, let's just hate on the Eagles. I'm not hating on the Eagles. The Eagles are a good football team. They're number 2 seed for a reason. They have a solid and dangerous running attack with Saquon Barkley. I think that they need to pass the ball more and not let the offense be one-dimensional. That's my honest thoughts. They've had one good game where after the fact, they proved me wrong and they passed the ball really, really well. Other than that, they still kind of reverted back to the way of running the football, and Jalen Hurts is throwing the ball second. You need to balance it out, all right? So the Packers could have had a good opportunity to kind of set everything up, but I don't know. I don't know. It's over. Nonetheless, it's over. Eagles 22, Packers 10. The Packers finished their season, and they are moving on to the offseason. Cancun on 3. 1, 2, 3. Joel, you got to calm down and quit being so savage. You're probably thinking that. I apologize, but Cancun on 3. 1, 2, 3. Cancun Beach. Ready. 22-10. Eagles defeat the Packers. The Eagles are moving on to play the Rams. 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 Central kick on NBC. Packers moving on to the off season. Let's talk about these other 2 games so we can move on to the other because we have much to talk about with so little time in this show. I wish we can just have a lot of time that we can do this. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about Commanders at Bucks because this game is a game that I got wrong. The last game that I got wrong out of the 2, I picked the Buccaneers to win. I thought they were the better overall team with the defense, and they were how physical they were on defense. Did you know this defense hadn't allowed only 9 points in the second half in the red zone all year? Or at least in the second half of the season, at least. The Buccaneers are a solid defense. And Jaden Daniels hits them with a game-winning drive, along with Zane Gonzalez with a game-winning field goal to beat the Bucs in Tampa Bay. Epic win, an epic upset. Final score, Commanders 23, Buccaneers 20. The Commanders go on to play the Detroit Lions Saturday night on Fox in Ford Field. Epic, just epic. In Jaden Daniels' rookie season, they're in the divisional round of the playoffs. The Commanders were a number 2 overall draft pick in the offseason, and now they're in the divisional round of the playoffs. Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury, Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, all of it equals money for this organization. They have completely turned around this organization within the span of a few months. It's almost the span of a year. No more hate on the Washington Commanders. They are doing well, and Jaden Daniels is a top-tier future quarterback in the National Football League. He has proven it time and time again this season. Let's talk about Jaden Daniels. He is a madman. 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, 24 for 35. He also had 36 yards on the ground and 13 carries. He threw the ball quite well, especially to Terry McLaurin. Austin Eckler, 27 yards, 8 carries. Brian Robinson, 16 yards, 10 carries. Terry McLaurin, 89 yards, 7 receptions, a touchdown. And let me go and tell you about their not-so-secret weapon on this receiving core. Diami Brown. Diami Brown has been an absolute madman in the second half of this season for this Washington Commanders team. 89 yards and a touchdown with 5 carries on the day for Brown. He is an absolute madman. 26 yards receiving for Austin Eckler. Zach Ertz played well, 23 yards, 2 receptions, and he had big clutch plays for first downs in this game. Defensively, Bobby Wagner played well, half a sack, 8 total tackles. Marshawn Lattimore had 7 total tackles. Chin had 7 total tackles. LeVue had 4 total tackles. Martin had 4 total tackles in this ball game. They played physical in this game. 350 total yards for Washington compared to the Buccaneers, 284. Passing, 268 compared to the Buccaneers, 183. Rushing, Buccaneers on 101 rushing yards compared to the Commanders, 82. And then 6.5 yards per play for the Bucs compared to the Commanders, 5.1 yards per play. Positive circle moments. The heart and dedication that this Commanders offense and team showed overall. Jaden Daniels, a positive circle moment. He played well. He made clutch plays with Terry McLaurin and Diami Brown. They both played absolutely electric. And they showed clutch plays and showed poise and calmness in the moment. And that was a positive circle moment for this team to keep going in this game. 8 for 15 on third downs. They converted quite well on third downs as they are currently 6th in third down conversion rate in the NFL. And they showed that in this game. Positive circle moment. They had a lot of winning third down moments in this game. 3 for 5 on fourth down. Not too shabby. They also allowed only 1 sack in this game, and they only had 5 penalties, 39 yards. That's kind of a negative. Not really, but not too bad. They won the time of possession, 35 minutes compared to the Buccaneers, 24 minutes. Beat them out in time of possession, which a lot of people don't beat out the Bucs in time of possession, so they beat them out quite handily in time of possession. I think those are some positive circle moments. I think the only real negative that you could look at is the rushing yards. I think the Commanders need to run the ball a little bit more, kind of balance it out with Eckler and B-Rob along with Daniels on the ground to make their offense even more dynamic with Kingsbury. I know that's not the game plan that Kingsbury wants to go with up front, but I think that if you just bounce the run out a little bit more, you're going to be a lot more deadly, especially going into Saturday night's huge game against Detroit. So it's going to be electric in that atmosphere this coming up Saturday night. The Commanders are in the divisional round. Just a year ago, we were talking about them being the number 2 pick in the NFL draft and the Washington Commanders not being up to par among the league's best, and you're thinking, oh, the Washington Commanders may not make the playoffs, but Jaden Daniels is going to show that you can build around him. Not only is he showing that you can build a team around him, he's showing you that he's ready to win now and that this team can win now with the coaching staff that they got. I'm just saying, this Commanders team's dangerous under Jaden Daniels. He's the future of this franchise, and he's probably going to be one of the future of the NFL, just like Bo Nix is. This team is playing the Lions Saturday at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. And it is going to be a tough game for the Commanders coming up this Saturday. 8 Eastern, 7 Central kick in Detroit on Fox Saturday night. Commanders at Lions. Let's see what the Commanders do. I'm excited to see how Jaden Daniels and the Lions are going to fare against each other. It's a game that I've been looking forward to, that I've kind of wanted to see them play this year, but they hadn't played each other. Let's see what happens in this game, because I'm not counting out the Commanders. The Lions are going to have to come to play in this game Saturday night. 23-20 was the final score. Jaden Daniels and this team is electric. Let's see what they do Saturday night in the playoffs. Let's talk about the Bucs really quick before we move on to the Vikings and the Rams and the coaching cycle and the injury report and playoff game. So let's talk about the Bucs. The Bucs in this game. Baker Mayfield, 2 touchdowns, 185 yards, 15 for 18. Bucky Irving ran the ball quite well, 77 yards, 17 carries. Mayfield ran the ball well, 23 yards, 7 carries. Mike Evans had a really good game, 92 yards, a touchdown, and 7 receptions. Jalen McMillan, the rookie, 41 yards, 2 receptions. Cade Otton, 32 yards, 2 receptions. Bucky Irving had 6 yards, 2 receptions, and a touchdown. Hall had 7 total tackles. Smith had 7 total tackles. Mike Edwards had 5 total tackles. Levante David, 8 total tackles and a sack. Anton Winfield, 7 total tackles. The defense played physical. They played like they were ready to win this ball game and played honestly, probably one of the best defensive performances I've seen throughout the playoffs this weekend, and they lost. So one of them. I'm going to get to the one that was the best one yet next. So probably second best out of the playoffs, and they lost. I mean, positive circle moment, Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans, that connection was solid. They played with heart, and they played with determination, and they did not have a bad game at all. They protected Baker Mayfield. They had one crucial turnover. Baker Mayfield fumbled the ball, which could have been costly in this game, but nonetheless, they still play with heart and determination. So some positive circle moments. The negative was the fumble. They 5 for 9 on third down. Not bad at all on third down. 7 penalties for 65 yards. Kind of killed them a little bit. Those penalties were not the best. I think those penalties, they committed. Some they did, some they didn't. So that's kind of hearsay. But the Bucs, those were kind of that kind of killed them a little bit in this ball game. So that was a negative circle moment. But overall, this game by both teams was pretty solid. Both evenly matched. It was probably one of the best games. Not really. I think it was the best game on in the whole wild card round of the NFL. Both teams played close. They both wanted it. They both played with toughness and determination and grit, and they both wanted it. The Bucs end their season on a disappointing note, but also on a high note because they didn't play bad in this game. There was not a lot of negatives to say in this game. Baker played good, defense played good, and that's really all you got to say. What's next for this offseason? You got to build on next season. I think you got to re-sign some of the players on defense. You got to build some depth on that defense and keep it afloat. I think you got to get Jalen McMillan going in the receiving core. I think it's going to be a big addition to the receiving core, and he can get better. He hasn't had the best receiving and best rookie year, but I think he could be a lot better next season. So get him going. And not only that, the addition of Bucky Irving, because Bucky Irving in the ground game was quite fantastic in the second half of this season. So get Bucky Irving going next season and make him a premier back in the league. 23-20 was the final score. The Commanders had the Lions 8 Eastern, 7 Central on Fox Saturday night. The Bucs finished their season in a heartbreaking fashion, but have lots to look forward to in the 2025 season coming up in September. So let's move on. Final game. Let's talk about the Vikings and the Rams in this one, and let's discuss the final game here. I picked the Rams to win. I thought the Vikings were in a dangerous spot. Guess who was right? This guy. But I didn't expect it to be that bad. The game got moved to Glendale due to the wildfires. Our thoughts and prayers are with the people in Los Angeles. This episode is also dedicated to all the people around Los Angeles, to those fires. Heartbreaker there. We are praying for everybody, and our thoughts and with our prayers with everybody and the families in Los Angeles. So Rams, Vikings in Glendale. The Rams won. Final score 27-9. 27-9. The Rams defeat the Vikings. The Rams were all over the Vikings in this game. The Rams and Matthew Stafford went off on offense. 2 touchdowns, 209 yards, 19 for 27. Kyron Williams, 76 yards, 16 carries. You had Tyler Higbee, 58 yards, 5 receptions. Puka Nacua, 44 yards, 5 receptions. Cooper Kupp, a 29-yard reception. Got to get him involved more. 23 yards reception for Demarcus Robinson. Got to get him involved more. But they still were electric. 16 yards, a touchdown, 3 receptions by Kyron Williams. And Davis Allen, 13-yard touchdown reception by him as well. It wasn't just the offense that was clicking on all cylinders at first. It was the defense all game for the Rams, especially this defensive line was clicking on all cylinders. This defense was the positive circle moment for this team. Lake had 9 total tackles in this game. Roseboom had 7 total tackles in this game. Kitchens had 5 total tackles in this game. Byron Young had 4 total tackles. Omar Spates had 4 total tackles. Curls had 4 total tackles. Witherspoon had 3 total tackles. McCullough had 6 total tackles. Gallimore had 5 total tackles, and on and on and on. Positive circle moments, 292 total yards compared to the Vikings, 269. Passing yards, 202 passing yards compared to their 163. Vikings, 106 rushing yards compared to the Rams, 90. 5.7 yards per play for the Rams compared to the Vikings, 3.8 yards per play. Those are the positive circle moments. I'm going to tell you about some of the others. 2 turnovers in this ball game. They snagged 2 turnovers in this game on defense. Positive circle moment. They had 9 sacks in this game. 9 sacks in this football game the Rams defense racked up. Unbelievable. That young defensive line was all over Sam Darnold. They won the line of scrimmage battle, and that was a key to this game, that they needed to win the line of scrimmage battle in this game, and they out-physicaled the Vikings line of scrimmage on both sides of the football and picked up 9 sacks in this ball game. So that was quite impressive by this defense. The defense was the huge positive circle moment. The Rams starting off fast was a positive circle moment in this game as well. The Rams were the primary defense was the primary reason they won this football game as well. So here are the negatives. If you want to look at the negatives, 2 for 10 on third down. They have to do a lot better to capitalize on their drives and win on their drives and win on third down against the Eagles this coming up Sunday. They have to. It's a must, because if they do not, there's a strong possibility that they will lose that game Sunday afternoon. They have to do better on that. 10 penalties for 95 yards. That is a huge no-no. They killed themselves on a lot of plays and a lot of drives. Drive killers to a galore. It can turn into a game killer. 10 penalties for 95 yards. They were getting penalties, and it was like 2nd and 31, 1st and 31, 2nd and 36. And I was like, dude, you got to quit with the penalties, because it's going to be a game killer if you do that come Sunday afternoon. This Rams team, like I said, is dangerous, underrated, and battle-tested. They are getting hot at the right time, and I told everybody this. I've been accurate about the Rams all season. This is a team that you do not want to play probably deep and late in the field. I said this. This was a team that was going to get everybody's best, and they are certainly getting everybody's best. They got the Vikings got their best this past Monday. And I'm going to tell you what, this team's battle-tested, man. Rams are hot. They are dangerous, and they're a team that you might not want to play right now. But the Eagles got to play them Sunday afternoon, 3 Eastern, 2 Central on NBC in Philadelphia. Weather conditions are going to be frigid. The Rams are not used to that, so that environment may favor Philadelphia. All of it is looking like it could favor Philadelphia in this one, but let's see what happens on NBC Sunday afternoon in this one. 27-9 is the final score. Let's talk about the Vikings really quick and Sam Darnold and what that looks like for his future before we move on to the injury report and the coaching cycle and move on to the preview and predicting these football games. Let's talk about Sam Darnold and the future of this team, and let's talk about the Vikings here. So, a lot of people are going to blame Sam Darnold for this loss. And I've been seeing that all over. And then when I started out the episode by saying the media does this, and this is someone on X told me this. It was, Ohio Divided X account. Shout out to him on X. He said the media does this for clicks and views. All credit goes to him for saying that, because I agree with what he is saying there. Because it's true. A lot of media does this for clicks and views. They're saying, oh, this is Sam Darnold's last game. Yes, he did lose a lot of money in the past 2 games. History tends to repeat itself. He lost to the Lions in Week 7, and then Week 8 lost to the Rams. And then it happened again. Week 18, he lost to the Lions, and then in the playoffs in the first round, lost to the Rams. Sure, yeah. He did. But not all of it was on Sam Darnold, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Sam Darnold had 1 interception, 1 touchdown, 245 yards passing, 25 for 40, Aaron Jones, 48 yards, 13 carries. Cam Akers, 39 yards, 5 carries. Hockenson had a touchdown, 64 yards, 5 receptions. Justin Jefferson had 58 yards, 5 receptions. Jalen Naylor, 33 yards, 3 receptions. Jordan Addison, 29 yards, 3 receptions. And then the defense played well with Ivan Pace, 10 total tackles. Cashman had had 11 total tackles, a sack. Harrison Smith had 9 total tackles in this game. Josh Metellus had 3 total tackles in this game. Byron Murphy had 3 total tackles in this game as well. They turned the ball over twice. That was a negative circle moment. The offensive line got beat up. That was a negative circle moment. I think Hockenson was a positive circle moment for this team. He moved the ball quite well. Justin Jefferson moved the ball quite well when he needed to as well. I think that those are some positive circle moments, but a lot of it was negative due to the fact that this O-line got beat up. I think a negative was the game plan by Kevin O'Connell. They did not game plan at all well for this Rams team. They were not prepared for this team at all. I think a lot of it was more on Kevin O'Connell's game plan. I think they could have balanced a lot of it out with running the ball a lot more, even though they got 106 yards on the ground. Aaron Jones could have been a better contributor than he was. They threw a lot of it on Sam Darnold, and they're blaming Sam Darnold for it. 9 sacks. Some of it was on Sam Darnold. The turnovers was on Sam Darnold. Hold on to the ball better and think about who you're throwing to. Yes, the picks were rough. The interception was rough. The fumble was rough. Some of it was on Sam Darnold on getting blasted with the sacks. 9 sacks. So, I mean, come on. You can't blame all that on Sam Darnold. That's on the O-line. The O-line just got beat up front. The Rams' defensive line is young. Jared Verse, Braden Fisk is hungry on the D-line. 2 solid replacements. Byron Young, again, 3 solid replacements for Aaron Donald on this young Los Angeles Rams defensive line. And they beat up the Rams offensive line, and they sacked him 9 times. I mean, come on. That's not all on Sam Darnold. Some of it was on Sam Darnold. He cost himself some money the past 2 weeks, but do not blame all of it on him, because it's not. Was this his last game in Minnesota? Who knows? He is going to be a big free agent after the way he played. You're going to think, okay, the past couple of games did suck. Yeah, he sucked the past 2 games, but guess what? Throughout the season, he played lights out and had a redemption season and resurrection of his career and led them to the playoffs. I think Sam Darnold's going to start for a team again. I don't know if it's going to be the Vikings or somebody else. The Vikings have a ton of options. They can re-sign Sam Darnold. They can let him walk in free agency. They can start Daniel Jones as a bridge quarterback, and then they can go into J.J. McCarthy. They can also start J.J. McCarthy if he is healthy by week 1 and start him and start the future of the franchise already at quarterback. A lot of decisions are about to be made in the quarterback room for Minnesota. Can't wait to see what happens during the offseason, but Sam Darnold doesn't deserve a lot of the flack that he got on this past Monday's loss. I think that a lot of it was on the game planning for sure, and the O-line just getting beat up by this young Rams team. This Rams team's dangerous, and I think that's what the attention should go towards, not Sam Darnold playing bad. Final score, 27-9. Rams defeat the Vikings. Vikings are going home. Rams are on the road Sunday afternoon, 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central on NBC against the Eagles. Snowy conditions, frigid environment against the Eagles in Philadelphia Sunday afternoon. That was the NFL wildcard recap. Let's discuss the Pigskin Frenzy NFL injury report and talk about the coaching cycle ahead of the divisional round, and we will talk about the divisional round and preview and predict those games coming up here in a little bit. Let's talk, about the injury report. So starting off in Detroit, Lions running back David Montgomery with his knee will play Saturday night versus the Commanders. Huge comeback here. Sonic and Knuckles, the running back duo, is back with Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery. They're getting a lot of players back, including Montgomery, for this playoff run. Montgomery is ready. He said he wouldn't miss it for the world. Huge pickup for the Detroit Lions coming up Saturday night. If you are the Commanders, you have to game plan around this for sure. He is back Saturday night versus the Commanders. Good news for him. Bills running back Ray Davis is in concussion protocol. He is questionable to play against the Ravens Sunday night. If not, they will have Ty Johnson be the rotating back for James Cook in this Ravens game at home Sunday night. So thoughts and prayers with him, and hopefully he heals quite nicely and everything is okay with Ray Davis going into this week. Last but not least, Ravens wide receiver Zay Flowers, his knee, he is questionable versus the Bills Sunday night, but could still play without practicing. That is what John Harbaugh said. We don't know. It is a maybe. He is questionable. They are hoping he plays, but we have to see Sunday night. Thoughts and prayers with him. Hopefully he heals up quite nicely, and he is back on the field Sunday or in the near future. That is the Pigskin Frenzy NFL injury report. We're praying for everybody, and hopefully everybody heals quite nicely off of this list. Let's talk about the coaching changes, because this is a good conversation for each. The Patriots, breaking news out of the coaching cycle, the Patriots are hiring Mike Vrabel as their next head coach. Had a feeling this was going to be the move that they were going to make. He's played for the Patriots. He's had history for the Patriots. Low key, they have wanted him. I said literally after the Gerard Mayo firing last week, I said that they were going to try to go after him and that they were going to try to make it a little bit of a, a little bit of a history thing. Like low key, they wanted him after Bill Belichick. They removed Bill Belichick as the head coach. They wanted him to be the replacement. It was Gerard Mayo instead. Now, after a few years, they got their guy. Mike Vrabel is the head coach of the New England Patriots, and he will coach them and try to build talent around Drake May. Number one, Drake May is the quarterback for this team. He has done quite well, I think, in what he had went through in this situation on offense. He just needs talent around him. That's all he needs. He just needs talent around him. And I think you got to be patient with Mike Vrabel. He's a physical head coach. The Patriots are going to be physical again. He's going to build talent around the defensive fronts and the offensive fronts and talent around Drake May. I think he knows what he's doing. You just got to be patient for Mike Vrabel. He is the next head coach. Let's see how they do during free agency and how they do at drafting. He is the next head coach for the Patriots. Let's see how it goes for the 2025 season. The Cowboys and Mike McCarthy are officially parting ways. His contract ran out. They are letting him go. He is walking, and the contract is ended. And Mike McCarthy is expected to interview for the New Orleans Saints jobs, the Chicago Bears jobs, and he is a solid head coaching candidate. And I'm going to get on Mike McCarthy in a minute. Jerry Jones is talking to one name. That's Robert Saleh. Two names. Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh is expected to interview for the Cowboys head coaching opening, and he is in contact with Colorado head coach Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. I'm not going to say much on this until anything happens. But I posted it on X. I said, watch Deion Sanders get this job, because it feels like a Jerry Jones hire, and I feel like it could happen. So just watch, and let's see what Jerry Jones does. I would be a little bit surprised if Robert Saleh got this job. I think that Sanders is probably going to be the top target for this job, and I wouldn't be surprised if Deion Sanders goes to the Dallas Cowboys. Do I have more to say on it? Yes. Am I going to say anything else on it until next week? I will say something on it next week if anything is made official, but right now, I'm not saying anything on it until something happens with the head coaching opening. So, Mike McCarthy, I think he is a solid head coach, and he is not a bad hire as a lot of people think he is. I think a lot of people think that it's a bad hire and it's a bad interview, that the Bears and the Saints are going to interview him. The situation that he was in Dallas was bad because he was not the head coach, okay? I don't know how many times I got to say that. Joel, calm down. Joel, calm down. Okay. I think he has a shot at being the actual head coach for these teams. He's won a Super Bowl with the Packers. Give it time. I think he could be a solid candidate for the Saints and for the Bears. I think the Saints would be a better fit for him than the Bears. That's just my take. I think New Orleans would be a better fit for him than Chicago if they decide to go that route. It's looking like Aaron Glenn is more of a target for the Jets head coaching job. That's news out of the Aaron Glenn camp. But because he prefers the Jets, but the Saints are trying to make a strong push for him. We will see how that goes, and we will see as the the runs out of the playoffs, the coaching carousel, and how it all unfolds. So those are news all wrapped up into one thing. Chicago wants to interview another name, though, and here's an interesting name here. That's Mike McCarthy. Excuse me, not Mike McCarthy. We just talked about him. The Chicago Bears want to interview another name, and it's Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame head coach. And I thought this was going to be interesting because of what he is doing at Notre Dame. You're thinking he's happy at Notre Dame. Like, why would he be the head coach at the Chicago Bears and jump ship to the NFL? Well, he's a leader of men. He's disciplined. He knows how to coach at a high elite level, and he knows how to outcoach on a good stage. Would he be a fit? I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be a tough ask to go from college to the NFL, but I'm going to tell you this. Marcus Freeman is going to be in for it with the division that he is in. A strong Detroit Lions team, regardless on who's the next offensive coordinator and defensive coordinators are going to be there. You look at that, and you look at, like, okay, you get the Packers, who are still consistently in it, and the Vikings, who are coming off of a solid season and who can be a threat next season as well. So Marcus Freeman's going to be in a tough division, but he's also got the players with him. Caleb Williams, he's got a quarterback that he's familiar against, playing against very well. Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, he's got DeAndre Swift at running back. He's got a lot of guys on defense with Tremaine Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds and Jonathan Owens, a lot of guys on that team, right? So if you look at the Bears, it could be a good situation for Marcus Freeman, but management and leadership has got to change. But Marcus Freeman is a good leader, so it could start with him. So the Bears are picking out an interesting name, and they're trying to interview him after the national championship game against Ohio State Monday. One more thing before we move on to this divisional round, and let's talk about this in the coaching cycle. The Raiders really are trying to make a push for Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. And I think it can happen. And I'm going to tell you why I think it can happen. Tom Brady wants him. He is pushing for him. You're going to think there's no real clear-cut situation at quarterback, and that's what Ben Johnson wants. Ben Johnson wants a good situation. Hear me out. Hear me out. Yes, Ben Johnson wants a good situation, but Tom Brady leading it and leading the charge could be a good situation for Ben Johnson. Not only that, he's got some good talent with Jacoby Myers, Zamir White. He's also got Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers at the tight end spot. He's got Max Crosby at defense. He can recruit some better guys on defense and get some guys up front on the line, and then get a quarterback. He's got Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell to choose from. Yes, but they prefer to draft a quarterback for the future. They could probably trade up if they could. They're not in a good position right now to trade up for a quarterback, maybe, but they could. Let's just see more of the cards that they are dealt with. But Ben Johnson and Tom Brady could turn a not so good situation for Ben Johnson to a good situation for Ben Johnson, to where he can come be the head coach for him in Las Vegas. So he really wants him. I think it could be a fit. I really do. I think he's going to be in a tough division, yes, with Andy Reid, with Patrick Mahomes, with Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh, and with Sean Payton, Bo Nix. He's going to be in a tough division with no clear-cut quarterback. But maybe Tom Brady can fix it, and maybe you can convince him otherwise to turn chicken crap into chicken salad, right? That's how I look at it. Let's see if the Raiders get Ben Johnson, and that is pretty much it for the coaching cycle and the updates. Let's follow along on X on Pigskin_Frenzy, Joel Norris on X, and highlights on there. Keep engaged with me on there, and keep on liking all my posts and engaging with me on there. Let's preview and predict these playoff matchups. The NFL Divisional Round for the AFC, 2 games out of the AFC and 2 games out of the NFC. Who is going to the AFC Championship and the NFC Championship, and who is going and continuing their path towards New Orleans, towards Super Bowl 59. Let's talk about the AFC matchups first. Let's talk about Saturday afternoon's game. 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central on ESPN and ABC. Texans at Chiefs. Texans at Chiefs. Texans are 11-7. Chiefs are 15-2. Coming off of a bye. Congratulations to Patrick Mahomes on having his third child, welcoming his daughter into the world. And Texans at Chiefs, 11-7 at Chiefs, 15-2. Arrowhead's going to be rocking another playoff game. The Chiefs have been in the AFC Championship ever since 2018. They have been in it for the past 6 years. That is a long time. There has been no AFC Championship game without the Patriots or the Chiefs. It's the 2011 season. That is the craziest thing. So Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes have been in the AFC title game picture for years and years and years. So Texans at Chiefs. Let's see what happens. Texans' keys are simple. Number one, you got to minimize those penalties. 8 penalties for 86 yards versus the Chargers last week. You got to clean those up against the Chiefs going into Arrowhead. It's going to be raucous. It's going to be loud. You know a lot of penalties are being committed in that stadium. You got to clean that up, maintain your composure, be disciplined, and do not commit a lot of penalties in this ball game. Work your hardest at it. Number one, minimize those penalties. Number two, you got to find a way to get to Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes has been well rested. He has not thrown a pass in 2 to 3 weeks. You got to find a way. You have to find a way to get to him. 4 sacks versus the Chargers. Will Anderson, Mario Williams, and Danielle Hunter were all over Justin Herbert. Find a way to get to Patrick Mahomes and do it a lot better than you did it on December 21st, right? So you got to play better. You got to pressure Patrick Mahomes and get to him there. So that's number 2. Number 3, protect the football. 3 turnovers versus the Chargers. 3 turnovers versus the Chargers. This Steve Spagnuolo's defense is going to be ready. And be ready against this Texans offense. You have to protect the ball, play well on that in that regard, be disciplined in that area, and you should be fine in this game. Here are the Chiefs' keys in this game. Number one, protect Patrick Mahomes. The offensive line has been a really big question mark for me with this Chiefs offense. They have been getting and sacking Patrick Mahomes, which is keeping games close. And I think if they can protect him, Mahomes can find targets, and playoff Patrick Mahomes and playoff Kansas City Chiefs are a lot different than the regular season Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. So let's see if playoff Patrick Mahomes comes into effect here. You have to protect him, and you got to be well and win the line of scrimmage and protect him up front. Number 2, slow down their running game. Kansas City is currently 8th in rushing defense in the league. That's good. Houston is currently 15th in rushing offense in the league. If you can find a way to slow down Joe Mixon in that rushing attack, you can do what the Chargers did and how the Texans were in the first half of that Chargers game. You make them one-dimensional. And I think that's huge in this game. If you can make them one-dimensional, slow down that rushing attack, then the Chiefs can get a win here in this game. Number 3, start off fast. If you're Kansas City, you want to start off fast and you want to get points up early and get this defense on its heels early. And I think that's a huge key for the Chiefs in this ball game. Number 1, for the Chiefs, can they protect Patrick Mahomes? Can the offensive line step up? Number 2, can they make this offense one-dimensional? And I think those are the big 2 questions for the Chiefs in this game. Number 1, can the Texans protect the football? Number 2, can they minimize the penalties? And really, not only that, for number 1, can they protect the football? Can they minimize the penalties? And number 2, number 3, can they not be one-dimensional? Can they have a balanced attack on offense and blend in well with their defense? Their defense is going to have to step up, but their offense is going to have to step up even more in this game. Those are the questions for both teams heading into this one. Now, the famous question, who do I have winning this ball game? I think this game will be close until the fourth quarter. I think the Chiefs are going to find a way to run away with it in the fourth. I think the Texans defense are going to be good, but I think not good enough in the fourth. I think they're going to get tired out in the fourth, and the Chiefs are going to find a way to do it and find a way to win ball games like they have been. Chiefs run away with it in the fourth. Chiefs 31, Texans 21. The Chiefs defeat the Texans and move on to the AFC Championship. Once again, I would say This would be their 6th or 7th straight AFC Championship game appearance. The Chiefs defeat the Texans and move on to the AFC Championship to await the winner of the Bills and Ravens game. Chiefs 31, Chiefs 31, Texans 21. Chiefs defeat the Texans Saturday afternoon. Next up, Ravens at Bills. 13-5 Ravens, Bills 14-4. I'm so excited about this football game. The Ravens defeated the Bills 35-10 in Week 4 on September 29th. That was a mile ago. That was a long time ago. This is a completely different Bills football team. This is a completely different Ravens team. They are still white hot, but also everybody has flaws, right? This is a completely different team. Bills, completely different team. They are playing white hot, playing physical, and ball control has been second to none in this league. Josh Allen playing lights out ever since his game. Lamar Jackson also having the best year he has had statistically and on paper and on the field this season. Something's got to give. The battle between the two MVP quarterbacks in this game. Winner pretty much takes on the winner of the Texans and Chiefs in this one and goes to the AFC Championship game. Ravens' keys are simple. Number one, start off fast. You got to start off fast, start off electric, explosive plays like with Derrick Henry in the run game. If you can start off fast in that regard, you have a strong shot at winning this game and keeping this defense on its heels. Number two, establish the run game. You are obviously clear-cut, and everybody knows that Baltimore is the number one rushing team in the NFL. Buffalo is currently 12th in rushing defense in this league. So if you can run the ball effectively and Buffalo doesn't have an answer for it, this game will end and the Ravens will beat the Bills. The Ravens are favorite to win this game. I think they're a 4-point favorite to beat the Bills this coming up Sunday night. As far as I know in the odds, that's the latest odds I've checked in this game. Number three, find a way to contain Josh Allen. If you can find a way to not make him play like he has been the MVP, make Lamar be the MVP and contain Josh Allen and not let him get his, then that's a strong possibility the Ravens will win just like they did on September 29th. Those are the keys for the Ravens. The Bills' keys are simple. Number one, don't let them start off fast because they started off fast the first time you played them, and you don't need to let that happen. Derrick Henry first play popped off for big time 70 plus yard touchdown run. Don't let that happen. Do not let them start off fast in this game. Number two, slow down their running game. If you can figure out a way to contain and slow it down a little bit, because they're going to run the ball, and because they've been doing it on everybody, and they're going to get yards. So figure out a way to minimize that and just kind of contain it a little bit and slow it down some. Then you have a shot at winning this game. Number three, I would win the time of possession battle, and that's a huge key in this one. 41 minutes and 43 seconds versus the Broncos. Ball control, play your style of football. If you can keep Lamar on the field less and put Josh Allen on the field more, the game is in the Bills' hands, and they can beat the Ravens in this game Sunday night. Questions that I got. Can the Bills play their brand of football, and can they slow down the run, and can their defense hold up? Those are the questions I got for the Bills. For the Ravens, can they run the ball effectively? Can they start off fast? And can they find a way to slow down and contain Josh Allen? Those are the questions that I got for the Ravens, and those are the questions that I got for the Buffalo Bills in this game. Who do I got winning this ball game? The Ravens are favored in this game. I think the Ravens are going to play them close. I think they're going to run the ball successfully. However, I think Josh Allen is going to find a way to rewrite the narrative of playoff Josh Allen and rewrite the narrative of making it all the way to the playoffs and getting eliminated out early. I think the Bills find a way close to play defense and win this ball game outright at home. Josh Allen does just enough in the end to outduel Lamar Jackson and get the win. Bills win it 31-24. Bills 31, Ravens 24. The Bills go on to play the Chiefs in the AFC Championship in another high-stakes showdown and another Mahomes-Allen playoff rematch. AFC Championship game, Bills, Chiefs, in my opinion, Bills defeat the Ravens 31-24, and the Bills go to the AFC Championship game this Sunday after this win this Sunday. That's who I got. The NFC matchups are this. These are the NFC matchups. Commanders at Lions. Commanders at Lions. Saturday night, 8 Eastern, 7 Central on Fox. Commanders are 13-5. The Lions are 15-2. A lot of people didn't think that the Commanders were going to be here. I, for one, did not think they were going to make it this far. But Jaden Daniels has brought life into this Washington football team. The Lions are hungry, and they have been playing lights out and been playing like the best team in football all year. Commanders at Lions, something's got to give here. The Commanders' keys are simple. Number one, you got to win on third down. 8 for 15 on third down versus the Bucs. They did really well on winning on third down. They're currently 6th in the league at converting on third down. If you can convert your drives effectively, you have a strong shot at upsetting this Lions team in Detroit Saturday night. Number two, slow down their running game. Detroit's currently 6th in rushing offense. However, Washington is currently 30th in rushing defense in the league. You got to think about it, though. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs is a big pickup, a strong duo, but is David Montgomery going to be 100% Saturday? You can take that away from them. You can kind of isolate everything and kind of figure out a way to game plan around that and slow down their run. That is a huge key for the Washington Commanders in this game. And number three, create explosive plays like you did against the Bucs. With Terry McLaurin, with Zach Ertz converting on big third down and fourth downs, create explosive plays, get into the end zone with those explosive plays and capitalize on those. That is how you're going to beat this Lions team. I think those are the biggest keys for the Commanders this Saturday night. The Lions' keys are simple. Number one, just start off fast. Coming off the bye, you're starting off fast. That's what you got to do. Start off quick, run the ball, create explosive plays right off the gate, and get this Commanders' defense on its heels. Start off fast, and you have a shot at winning this game. Number two, establish the running game with Montgomery and Gibbs. Run the ball effectively, tire out that defense, and capitalize on that. And then number three, find a way to get to Jaden Daniels. Find a way to get sacks on him. Find a way to pressure him. Find a way to get some turnovers involving Jaden Daniels, and find a way to slow him down and contain him a little bit, because he is a hard person to contain, right? So find a way to get him. Number one for the Lions, can you get to Jaden Daniels? Number two, can you start off fast? And are some of your guys going to be 100% after this bye week? And can you figure out a way to kind of calm down the heat with the Commanders, because they're coming in white hot? Do not let it get to you. And do not underestimate the Commanders. Can you respect the Commanders enough and put on a performance to where you've looked like the Lions all year? That's the biggest questions that I got for Detroit in this game. Number one, can you create explosive plays? Can you find a way to slow down their run? And can you figure out a way to win on third down and capitalize on those drives if you are the Commanders? Those are the questions that I got for both teams heading into this game. Who do I got winning this ball game this Saturday night? I think this game is going to be closer than the experts think. The Commanders are going to come to play. They're going to shock a lot of people. I think Jaden Daniels is going to play quite well. However, I think that Montgomery, despite not being 100%, is going to give his best effort. Gibbs, on top of that, is going to balance that out. Goff's going to have an impressive performance, and they're going to find a way to get the job done this Saturday night. The Lions are too good. I think they're the better team, and they find a way to get the win Saturday night to go to their second straight NFC Championship game. The Lions win it 28-21. Lions 28, Commanders 21. And the Lions get the win over the Commanders and go to the NFC Championship game and second straight NFC Championship game and defeat the Commanders. Lions defeat the Commanders 28-21 and go to the NFC Championship game. Last but not least, Rams at Eagles. Sunday afternoon, 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 Central on NBC with America's hero, Chris Collinsworth and Mike Trecco on the call. Cannot wait for that one. Now, here's a guy in Matthew Stafford that can, toot my own horn with Chris Collinsworth here, that literally is on a white-hot Rams team right now. And the Eagles, have a white-hot rushing attack, but need to work on their passing. It's a quite interesting game. It's probably the most interesting game during this weekend because I think it's, one, the penalties for the Rams. 2, can they balance out the offense for the Eagles? Something's got to give here. The Eagles are 15-3. Rams are 11-7. Something's got to give here. The Eagles defeated the Rams 37-20 in Week 12 on November 24th. I covered that game. I think this game has a tendency of being just a little bit different because the Rams are even more hot than they were then. So, Rams keys are simple. Win on third down because you were 2 for 10 on third down versus the Vikings. Not the best on third down versus the Vikings. You got to keep those drives going. You got to, get those drives going and capitalize on those drives, and you'll figure out a way to win this ball game that way. Number 2, minimize the penalties. 10 penalties for 95 yards versus the Vikings. You got to clean those penalties up. Be more disciplined. That's the only way you're going to figure out a way to win this ball game coming into Philadelphia this Sunday afternoon. And number 3, make them beat you through the air. You're going to think, are you serious? The Rams' rushing defense or passing defense isn't the best, but hold up. They're 20th in passing defense in the league. Los Angeles Rams are, yes. However, the Eagles are 29th in passing offense in the league. Just a tiny bit worse. If they can figure out a way to just have some good passing defense and then figure out a way to make them one-dimensional and then try to contain Saquon Barkley, just try to, with that young defensive line that's been ferocious right now, the Rams can have a shot at winning and pulling off the upset in Philadelphia in very frigid, cold conditions. So make them beat you through the air, even though it's going to be snowing and frigid cold. The Eagles' keys are simple. Number 1, Saquon has to have another breakout game on the run due to the weather and due to how the offense is right now. Number 2, establish that balanced offense. You have to pass the ball better. You got to get A.J. Brown involved more. You got to get Devontae Smith involved more, and you got to get everybody involved more in the pass and to set up the pass more and have a balanced offense. If so, the Eagles will win this ball game, I think, because of the talent that they got right now. That offensive line is ferocious. Number 3, protect Jalen Hurts. The Rams got 9 sacks on the Vikings. You have to protect Jalen Hurts. It is a need and is a priority. Watching that Rams defense, what they did on Monday night, you have to take that into consideration. So you got to get that going and got to get that done if you are the Eagles. Questions that I got for the Eagles. Number 1, can you establish that perfect balance with the run and the pass? Can you pass the ball a lot better? Number 2, can you protect Jalen Hurts? And number 3, can you find a way to let Brown and Smith make plays through the pass? I think those are some 3 big questions that you can make out of the Eagles in this game. Number 3 questions for the Rams. Can you minimize those penalties? Can you win on third down? And can your defense keep playing at the level that y'all played against the Vikings, right? Those are the 3 questions that I got for the Rams going into this game Sunday afternoon. Who do I got winning this ball game? I was conflicted about this game. This was the only game I was conflicted on. I thought that besides the Bills and Rams and the Lions and Commanders, maybe I was conflicted on this game the most because it's quite interesting. Perfectly good balanced. They need a perfectly good balanced offense. The Rams need to not kill themselves with penalties and wasting their downs on third down and losing third downs. But the weather is going to come into effect also because the Rams are not used to that weather. It's 11 degrees, snow, chilly, frigid cold. And can the Rams play in that? I think this game's going to come down to the wire. I think this is going to be a hot Rams team. I think they're playing really, really good. I think the Eagles are better than the Vikings. I think the Eagles are going to slow it down some for the Rams, and the Eagles are going to find a way to win this ball game. I think the Eagles got it. I think it's going to be close, and I hope I do not regret that pick. Eagles 24, Rams 17. Eagles 24, Rams 17, and the Eagles go to the NFC Championship game. The Rams go back to Los Angeles, and the Eagles will beat the Rams close at home, 24-17, to go to the NFC Championship game, and I hope I do not get that pick wrong. That is my NFL Divisional Round playoff matchups. We are out of time. Big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some NFL coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple, all you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow a lot of the pages there. You're going to get episode updates, highlights, and my thoughts on cross college and NFL football. Trivia question on Instagram stories. Go and answer today's NFL question, as well as all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, check out the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. More on that and all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy coming soon on that website. Guys, big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some NFL coverage presented by me. Enjoy this weekend slate of games. Epic slate of playoff action for NFL. The national championship is Monday. We will be back Tuesday with our latest college football edition of Pigskin Frenzy on Tuesday, recapping the national championship and recapping the 2024 college football season as we conclude and wrap up and tie everything in and wind down and wrap up the college football season on Pigskin Frenzy and enter the 2024 and going into 2025 off season for college football. Until Tuesday's edition of Pigskin Frenzy for college football, I'm Joel Norris signing off. We will see you Tuesday. Enjoy this weekend slate of games. Enjoy the national championship on Monday. As always, stay the course. We're praying for everybody in LA and praying for everybody listening to this podcast. Jesus is Lord, and he is so, so good. We couldn't do this show without him. As always, stay the course.